do you do?
I'm Mark Bryson, and I'm the Senior Director of Human Resources Administration at IndyGo.
And tell us about your career journey, specifically focusing on how you landed your first job in HR and made that transition.
And mine is a bit of a non-traditional route. I am I use SPIA, MPA in public management with an HR concentration. However, I started more or less in HR. I was in another graduate program. It was actually law school, and I did some work at the Indiana Department of Revenue, and a position became available as their affirmative action, equal employment opportunity, and ADA coordinator, which is a um, subsection of HR. So that's where I believe I started my HR piece. And then I went over to IUPUI, and because I got a job as the Equal Employment Opportunity Specialist, which I did in the IUPUI campus for a number of years. And I actually created IUPUI's first diversity program back in '96. And I was recruited from that work to go to IU Bloomington, and I worked in equal employment opportunity capacity there. And it was separate from HR, but still, again, the employment compliance law piece. Did the From that work, I became the diversity educator, created the Office of Diversity Education at IU Bloomington, did that for a few years, and was recruited to go back to IUPUI as the assistant director of the Equal Employment Opportunity Office. And so that probably over answers your question there.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And it seems like, there is a common thread there. And there's one thing about getting your first job in HR, but there's another thing about maintaining your career path and to continue to excel at what you do. So can you talk to us about some of the tangible steps you've taken to ensure you've had success along your HR career journey?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't get my MPA in public management until I went to IUPUI, but I decided that I wanted to be in the HR slash equal employment opportunity area. So I got into the SPIA MPA program. I actually went out and had a consulting firm for a moment or two, and then that recession thing hit. I ended up getting an SPHR to help me get back into a more traditional HR role. And then, well, I should also mention while at IU, I did a lot of professional development, a lot of things through NTL. I did some organizational development things through them. I did some leadership things through NTL. I did a Myers-Briggs thing. I also, while I was working in the diversity sphere, I got certifications from the American Institute on Diversity or um, Multiculturalism and Diversity, and I also did some leadership mentoring things through Linked Age. But I continued to do the professional development things. Then I also during my HR period, I became an SPHR. I don't keep that up anymore, and I continually try to make sure I stay on top of the goings on in our line of work. So hopefully that's responsive to the question.
And it seems like one of the things I noticed from your answer is that there's this trend of continued learning and going a little bit out of your way to ensure that you're staying up to date with the best practices and just continuing to be a useful resource and a more useful resource in the future and preparing for that.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
And oftentimes, when you're building your learnings, then you have to go and apply it. And you have to now apply these skills in the workforce. So talk to us about some of the skills that have really contributed to you being successful in your career, whether that deal with the communication side of things or even more the technology side of things.
My side of the HR house deals more with the employee relations slash equal employment opportunity slash diversity and inclusion piece. So I have, tried to keep my skills up in that particular area. And the question before I get too far away, the core of the question was so I can make sure I stay locked. The core of
Yeah,
your question.
the core of the question is, what skills are you using in the workplace to be successful, whether that's effective communication and how you're going about effective communication, or just certain tools and learning certain tools that you would say are part of your skill set, or even, I mean, communication definitely covers a very broad ground. So you could say also managing people, leadership, whatever that may be.
Right, absolutely. So the two core skills, first and foremost, it's part of the legal training, but it's issue spotting. Um, it's trying to understand what the actual needs are. Oftentimes, and I'm sure in your HR experience, they want HR to be the principal's office to deal with all problems at all times. It's important in order to maintain credibility that we're able to help identify things that should be in the HR office, whether it's a benefit issue or a discrimination or harassment issue or anything of that nature, but to understand that if it's more of a management related issue, that we get that to the right folks and have it resolved in the appropriate way. It's also important to have effective listening skills. In our MPEA curriculum, Administration 101 was um, any good administrator slash public manager should be able to listen, to be able to understand to the degree where we could help guide. Say if you have a subordinate who has an issue in an area that's not your area of subject matter expertise, to be able to know enough to be able to communicate, to understand what the needs are, and then to be able to, once you hear those needs, is to help that person be or get in their best position for success. So the issue spotting, which is also a form of listening. But I think that those are the two most important skills for me in terms of what I do.
That makes a lot of sense. And then in terms of um, the tools I use to be successful, what are some of the tools? Some of the people that we talked to before say they primarily rely on tools like Excel, HRIS systems, whatever it may be, in order to perform their job better.
Well, I'm not a data person, so while I know how to use Excel, um, I think first and I think the top of that list would be the ability to, once you identify the issue, is to be able to gather the information. So it's understanding, how to research, especially in the age of COVID, where we have um, changing expectations as it relates to COVID leaves and that sort of thing. Instead of depending on legal or law firms providing newsletters and that sort of thing, it's understanding how to go to sources to understand what our legal, ethical, what the expectations of us are, and then finding the appropriate ways to make sure that we are serving our customers both internally and externally to the best degree possible. So I would say the internet's the biggest tool for me. Going out, understanding what needs to be done and what the rules are, and then trying to make sure I abide by them.
That makes a lot of sense. And it reminds me of there's a position within companies called technical writing, where your job is to be an efficient researcher and to create great documentation. And today it's actually one of the most in-demand positions, which is sort of funny. And not a lot of people even know about it. And yeah, so it's a lot of skills, I think, taken from effective communications that, maybe technical writers would use and applying it to your job in HR.
Technical writers and training managers.
Exactly. And one of the things that it seems about you, and I know this is a bit of a personal question, but it seems like you've been in HR for quite some time, and whenever you see that, usually it's not because you're crazy, it's because it makes you happy, right? So,
Absolutely.
can you talk about what goes into picking an HR job that you'll enjoy?
My original goal, while I didn't finish law school, but I went to law school because I wanted to be able to um, make and create impactful change. I say all that to say I'm often told I look younger than I am. I'm actually 60. I was born a second class citizen. I was born before the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And I've been in situations where there were issues of inequity and that sort of thing. So my goal has always been to, regardless of your background, be you black, white, brown, what have you, regardless of your orientation, regardless of your ethnic um, background, it's about making sure that folks have an opportunity to succeed and that they're not saddled with any type of bias and that sort of thing. So the jobs where I'm able to help those folks be treated fairly and appropriately, that's what gets my juices flowing.
That's awesome to hear. And yeah, surprised that you said 60. I was thinking, you look like maybe like 35, right?
Well,
I'm,
thanks. That check will be in the mail.
and yeah, I wouldn't tell anybody else that. They might get a little bit upset.
Well, I brought it up. So there's no age discrimination in employment stuff going on here. I brought it up.
um, and so just from being in HR and also within the specific area that you're working in within HR, can you talk about where you see the industry going, whether that be maybe new industries popping up? We're living in a little bit more of a remote workforce, there's social media, and just speaking to some of those things.
I have a friend and colleague who actually owns one of those businesses where they outsource HR, and their company does really well. And I think that in the age of COVID, there will be a continued need for those types of businesses. But I'm sure you probably read many of the tech companies, many of the large organizations ultimately started finding ways for people to come back on site. Uh, People work remotely and they can do well. They're able to perform the essential functions of their job satisfactorily. But if you're in an organization that requires teamwork, if you're in an organization where having folks in the same space, socially distanced and appropriate PPE, mind you, but if in that space they're able to brainstorm, work through problems, that sort of thing, the argument is that on-site work is more productive work. So I think to a degree the remote piece won't be with us forever. I mean, there are some instances where large companies will that when they have staff all over, it works for them. But Yahoo, Twitter, I believe some of those companies were saying, we need you here and we need you here ASAP. So I say all that to say that I believe that that there will be room enough for we on-site HR people as well as the remote folks. But my preference is the on-site piece, and I like companies that have people that work together that they build a sense of connectedness and teams and that sort of thing. So hopefully that answers the question regarding where I see the industry going. I see it going in different routes, and it's not going to be a one size fits all.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, I would tend to agree with that. I think that's what the data is showing is that a lot of people are going to head back to the workplace. And even though a lot of things are remote right now, it's very hard to build a remote culture, especially for a lot of different positions. And talking about, to some of our audience who are maybe taking their first step in HR, and some of them are looking to just level up their HR career and eventually become an executive, what would you tell them that they should be prepared for in terms of hurdles that they may face in the workplace and how to solve them?
Well, one of the challenges during the recession when companies started to downsize, and I'm hoping at some point we become more pro worker again and less profit maximization. I say all that to say that if you want to have a workforce that feels as if it's valued and respected, um, the HR people are the ones that work to make the employment environment fun and enjoyable. We do the engage in addition to the recruitment and selection piece. Oftentimes we do the engagement piece. That sort of thing. I absolutely believe that we need to continue to challenge ourselves. And I'm sorry, I should be writing down the questions. This is late in the day, and I went meeting to meeting to meeting, and I'm going to have to ask the core question. I started to go a place, and I completely lost my train of thought. Hopefully, you can do some
It's all
editing.
good.
Um, but
So
was it the hurdles, or is that where we were?
yes.
Okay. So the hurdles for a lot of folks, it's going to be, trying to. Oh, and you actually asked about people just starting out. People who are just starting out, some of the things that they should first recognize is that if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So if you like doing benefits, the open enrollment, that sort of thing, find the component of HR that you like. If you like doing the legal side, whether it's the labor, if you want to negotiate the collective bargaining agreement, what have you, get in that area, learn about it. If you have a psychology or a sociology background and you want to do the labor relations part, find out what you do, try to do it well, look for opportunities to team with other folks to get exposed to different areas of HR. Because what we have to recognize is, and depending on if you're in a big organization, you might have a large HR staff. If you're in a small organization, you could be an HR staff of one. But either way, being able to do something well and then recognize what you don't know and how to either learn about it or to have a network where you can get information to be able to navigate, those particular hazards / hurdles. Those are the things that will help people continue to work up the ladder. But the first thing and the most important thing is find something about the field that you love, get really good at it, and try to network and connect with people who are in different areas so you're exposed to some different things. And some of it, I guess, depends on whether the goal is to be a generalist or the goal is to be a specialist. So I guess part of that answer would be based on what the person starting out what their goals would be. And then once they know what their goals are, then they're able to SWOT analysis, or to use a SWOT analysis and understand, potentially what, the threats to their success may be, and then to plan accordingly.
That makes a lot of sense. And then, you know, some of our audience, because they're just stepping into HR, this is an important question that they're asking themselves right now because they're making, well, possibly making a big career transition is what are some signs that HR may be right for them? And also dive a little bit into the category that you're working in and whether, that may be a sign that they should follow a similar path to what you had.
See, part of that's, it's a challenging question because to step into HR, it's just not HR. Oftentimes people will come in the entry level jobs where maybe they're answering the phones, that sort of thing. And some people just step into HR that way. But if you're talking about people who want to become HR professionals, that's usually a definite career path. And it's what we talked about a little bit ago. If people started doing benefits, or, if people started doing EO investigations, or if people wanted to do leadership development training or organization development. And that's why I suggest that people try to identify the types of things that they like, because so much better than most is that HR has a lot of different components to it. So I say again, find something that you like, and say if you were a social worker and you wanted to transition into HR, you're probably like people. You probably have some background on problem resolution, so labor relations might be for you. Maybe if you're an accountant, maybe then something on the payroll side might fit. A lot of it again depends on what your goals are, what specific area of HR someone's thinking about getting into.
And I appreciate that answer. And before we hop off, I want to ask you if you have any more advice for people looking to break into HR or become an HR executive that you have for them.
Well, being an HR executive and it's a really competitive field. I think that people get promoted because they're good at doing a thing. And so be the best labor relations person or employee relations person that you can. Get recognized and go from a labor relations or employee relations or EEO specialist to an EEO manager. Once you hit that manager level, look at ways, whether it's PHR, SPHR, or the newer HR certifications, but do something to increase your knowledge base. Connect with communities, whether it's SHRM or HRCI or some other kind of professional organization where you begin to get exposed to other disciplines. And it goes back to something we touched on a moment or two ago. The people who are likely to get moved up the ladder are people who are familiar with different components. But there are so many parts of HR. I love to brag on my vice president, our VP of HR. He is an attorney, but he spent time practicing employment law as well as labor law. And by nature of being a practicing attorney, being given a case and having to learn other types of things to bill folks in the hours, he learned some of the benefit stuff, some of the retirement package stuff. And I think that is in and of itself the wisest advice. Do something really well, but more importantly, make sure that you're in a position to learn more when called upon. And that's how you put yourself in a position to be an HR executive. Fortunately for me, I had a legal background, so the EO side came well. My undergrad was in education, so the teaching and training side came easier, even though I'm an introvert, which is a challenge in and of itself. But then having an opportunity to get the grad degree in public management, exposed to the public side, and then like the SBHR and the different training, I was able to continue to add to my areas of knowledge, and those are the things that helped me advance in my career.
Well, thank you so much. And for the students watching, they may want to connect with you. Can they connect with you on LinkedIn? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn, and I believe I also have my individual contact information on my LinkedIn account as well. But yeah, reach out, or if they want to contact me here at IndyGo, that's fine too. You may have. Did I give you my work email by chance?
I don't know if we'll share the email just so in terms of privacy
I was
reasons.
just asking if you had it in case your
Mhm.
students asked. So I was trying to see if you had it
Yes.
in case you wanted to pass it along.
So if anybody's interested in connecting with Mark via email, please reach out to josh@hr.university. If you're watching this video, the chances are that his LinkedIn profile will be in the description below. And if it's not, then just search his name on LinkedIn and he'll pop right up. So thank you, Mark, for being here today. I really appreciate it, and we'll rock and roll from here.
Back at you, Josh. Thanks for your time. It was a pleasure.